Unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. One of the things that people talk about the most in regards to AI is how many jobs it's going to take. You know, how many jobs it's going to eliminate. You know, this is kind of like the age-old question about technology anyway. You know, how many jobs for guys that took care of horses, did the car takeaway, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can imagine every single step in every industry changes the landscape of what humans have to do. You know, what shitty kind of thing do humans have to do? You know, and I talked about earlier about, you know, AI isn't really coming from for the coal miner's job, but kind of via a robot. If you can have robots go down to mines, you know, chip away shit, the mine collapses and some robots are lost, a big deal. The robots will build more robots, you know. There's all kinds of really shitty jobs, you know, cleaning out sewers, any kind of, you know, let's say even, you know, RoboCop, worst case scenario, you know, a robot going in to hunt down a bad guy. You know, there's a lot of arguments you can make where you just go, well, I don't really feel comfortable with a human being taken out of the equation. And I don't think there is a way to take out human beings out of the equation. I think you can create distance, but you can't really take the human being out of the equation entirely because the robots don't do anything on their own. They need to be directed by a human. You know, AI as a tool needs to be directed by a human. People keep talking about how, you know, AI is dangerous. It's like, well, a gun is dangerous, but not really. A gun itself isn't dangerous. It's the potential. It has dangerous potential. It also has good potential. You know, anything has a rock, a stone, it's just sitting there. It can be built into a cathedral, a castle, or can be used as an instrument to crack open a nut. You know, hell, if it's round enough, you can use it to go bowling, or you can bash somebody on the head with it, knock their brain out of their head. You know, there's potential in any single tool, and you can guarantee that it will be used in both of those manners, probably favoring non-horrific things. You know, that's my experience. My experience in the world is, even though with media it seems like there's terrible things constantly happening, in your real life you don't know very many people that have been murdered. You're not connected directly to very many horrific things, meaning life is pretty good and most people can be trusted. But without getting off track, let's keep it steer back. Jobs going away. Okay, let's talk about jobs. Is the word jobs this wonderful thing? Let's say all jobs go away. You know? And by the way, I haven't made my mind up here. Let's just think about it. Do you have to have a job? For me, I would define a job as being something you don't necessarily want to do. It's a job. It's a chore. It's a hardship. It's a whatever. A hobby, a passion. Kind of seems like a different thing, right? A vacation, an interest. You know, occasionally these things overlap. Some people get paid for doing things they would do for free. That's fantastic. But when one person gets paid for doing what they love and one person only gets paid when they do something they can't stand doing, like crawling down into a coal mine or working in an oil field, or, you know, getting skin cancer on the roof of a building to re-roof it, or, you know, there's a million different jobs that don't seem so great, you know, and that doesn't mean that there aren't people that do those jobs and have this magical way of coping with it, spinning it, turning it into a thing. You've watched that series, Dirty Jobs. You see people doing these jobs that I'm talking about that seem like they've been rewarded and are happy doing them. And there's certainly lots of arguments that can be made for the fulfillment that comes from doing hard work. But does the fulfillment come from that actual hard work or something else? Like, for example, a lot of people get on a Stairmaster. you know, by their, nobody's forcing them to, but they'll climb a hill that's not even there, and there's some sort of reward. What is it? Is it the butt, the hamstrings, the calf muscles? Or is there some sense of accomplishment? I don't know. I've only been on one of those things like once, years ago in a gym, and I felt so stupid about it. It's like being on a stationary bicycle. I'm like, they have bicycles that actually will take you places. You can literally get on a bike and go through the park and experience the world going by you. Why are you doing this version where you're stuck here? I listen, stationary bicycles, stationary walking things, it boggles my mind that these things exist. But people get on them voluntarily. There's lots of things that I can imagine why I think sometimes people want to do this, because they actually want to meet somebody. And if you're walking on a robot next to somebody else is walking on a robot, there's an excuse to walk at the same speed. Because if you try to walk exactly beside somebody at the park, you'll probably freak them out and get arrested. But if you walk at the same speed with your headphones on in something that's crawling up your butt in a building, side by side, I don't know. I think gyms are more like dance clubs. Honestly, I think it's a social thing. So people want to be together. That's the only way I can explain Stairmasters. And but people buy them and put them in their houses. But I'm convinced that the Stairmasters and the gym equipment that gets put into a house, if I had to estimate, I would say that they are used so infrequently that you could simply just say they're never used. They don't get used. They get hauled in, they get used twice, 5 times, and then they're never used again. In general, there are exceptions, obviously. There are people in the world that use them 100% of the time. But if you had to take them all in total, the amount of gym equipment that's sitting in people's homes is used so infrequently, it probably doesn't even register on the slice of pie scale on a graph. That's what I suspect. And that's why you see them on the street all the time. Can you imagine people still buy gym equipment when you can literally every single day drive around a big city and see, oh, there's a stationary bike. Oh, there's a free weight table. Oh, there's a free Stairmaster. There's a free treadmill. Craigslist filled with them. Please come get this thing that's been sitting in my bedroom taunting me every day. Yeah. That's the other thing about gym equipment. It's just sitting there laughing at you. It's just sitting there. Funny shit. But anyway, jobs. So people are going to continue doing things whether they want to or not, or whether they have to or not. That's the more key thing. Will they keep climbing down into coal mines? And I was talking about the rewards. I think a lot of times, what are the rewards? Dirty jobs. What are the rewards from doing the dirty jobs? Well, I think most of it is probably a paycheck. It's the boat, it's the house, it's the, comfort. I think there might be some mental braggadocio of service to others, like doing something nobody else wants to do, and then the gratitude they might feel from people. Although there's not a ton of gratitude given to a lot of these jobs because they're done out of you. When was the last time you saw a guy cleaning the sewer get a high five from a citizen? People don't really want to high five the sewer guy, you know, for obvious reasons. So there's a lot of thankless jobs out there, but I don't really want to talk about those. Why I started making this recording was, I'm watching this interview with Hunter Biden, Channel 5, that Andrew guy. And Andrew's not asking him any questions. But anyway, apparently Hunter Biden said some things about Melania was introduced to Trump by Jeffrey Epstein, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about the modeling industry. I have some experience with the modeling industry. I've been around it. I've had fashion designer friends. I was a photographer. I mostly avoided professional models. On a few occasions that I did have shoots with professional models, I didn't enjoy it. Because honestly, going back to recent things, maybe I was hypnotized by Devo to kind of resent genetic beauty. But I've certainly never found there to be a reason for somebody to feel a sense of pride in their genes. I said it a long time ago that pride and shame should be limited to that which bears your fingerprints. Did you do it? Did you make it? Fine. If you're a muscle man and you spent time at the gym and you created a weird sculpted body that you like and your friends like, you did that, great. But just being born beautiful with a symmetrical face and strong jaw, did you do that? It's weird. You should have humility and gratitude towards God, but a lot of times that turns into something else that kind of gets kind of ugly. And going back, I get why the nerds get upset. If you're born with an asymmetrical face and a bad chin, buck teeth, cross-eyed, it seems kind of obvious that you could be resentful towards, beautiful people who just kind of take it for granted, walk down the street and everybody's staring at them and saying, right this way, sir, please come to my club, sir, come on, ma'am, can I get that for you? Can I get that for you? Why don't you get that? Here, I'll get this, just, if you're a fish in water, you don't know you're in water, and beautiful people don't know how good they've got it. But anyway, the whole notion of beauty as an industry has always made me uncomfortable. When I was in high school, I got signed up to do a runway show for a certain fashion designer that was in my high school. And then I was kind of recruited by this little talent agency. I never really signed up for it, but I went to one of their things and I did a little modeling thing. This is the most embarrassing shit in the world. I can't even believe it even happened, Then some other guy took pictures of me and he said, hey, you're what's happening. I never believed any of this shit, right? But I always felt creepy about it. It's like, what? I didn't see a model when I looked in the mirror at all. Nothing, Never had that kind of esteem. Maybe in moments I go, oh, I'm not so bad looking, But anyway, the whole narcissist looking in the mirror, self-analysis, there's really no way to parse that out as being something that's virtuous or admirable. Staring at oneself in the mirror, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the epitome of gratitude to God, is to be infatuated and in love with one's own image. Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it to me, though. It doesn't feel that way. It feels like weird. And to have these little modeling agencies that are, and let's talk about how creepy that world is anyway. We're talking about the woman that was on the cover of Vogue and all these fashion magazines for years and years and years, for everybody as a model, the word model was 14, 15 years old. Brooke Shields, you name it, there's a million of them. They all come around when they're really young and they're paraded around, and youth is paraded around as the ideal thing. Well, notwithstanding my positions on accountability, which I think people can be accountable when they're much younger. I'm still stuck on the Mormon thing where you're baptized at the age of 8, which is the age of accountability. I kind of buy that. I think you got your bearings. You know what's right and what's wrong by about that age. But we're still talking about parading around young people who didn't earn their good looks. They didn't do anything to. Linda Evangelista wasn't, Cindy Crawford wasn't, is Sydney Sweeney, to maybe a more updated reference, She came out of the womb that way. Her big boobs, everything. The genes. At least she's being honest, good genes, And there's plenty of reasons to be grateful for good genes. And, but to be proud of them is weird. It just is. It's weird because you didn't choose them, And there's a big difference between pride and gratitude. And I keep having that thing that, pride goeth before the fall. Pride. There's so many warnings in scripture and probably other literature from wise people throughout the ages that pride, is a problem. But yet we build up industries and support ideas to boost pride. Like even in your high school, in your town pride, community pride, family pride. It's like, okay, there's a conflict here. Which is it? Pride is good or pride is bad? I don't know. Anyway, AI is doing away with that industry bit by bit. I don't think it's ever going to go completely away because I think people are going to want, I think people are naturally kind of more drawn to royalty than you think. I mean, I use these AI tools every day, and it's shocking to me how many people use these tools. You've got a tool with which you can make anything you want, anything you imagine you can make with these tools, any kind of song, any kind of image, any kind of movie. But it seems like most of it, I don't know why, but almost everybody if you look on YouTube of how to use this tool, how to use that tool, almost everybody who is using the tool to bring their imaginations forward are doing some kind of kingdom shit. Princess, king, princess, warrior, medieval, magic, fantasy. What is that? To me, people really actually want a king. They want a princess. I don't know why. I don't. I think royal family, all that bullshit, I hate it. I can't stand it. But I look at everybody else and by gum, that's what they're doing. They're repeating the same, I'm wondering, well, they're only doing that because they've seen Harry Potter and because of these and because of that movie. And I've told myself that, but I think maybe human beings just really would rather have, I guess there's a reason why there's been so many, most hierarchies, human hierarchies have been about the king, I guess, and even in animal kingdoms, queen bee, termites. It's democracy isn't what people or organisms seem to really like. I think bad people want that, but I think, anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But so people are always going to want a human figure, a model, a role model to look up to. They want to see for whatever reason, they either want to celebrate it, admire it, or something. They want to be able to look at it and go, oh, that's the chosen one. She's the most beautiful, or he's the most handsome. He's the best specimen of all of us. And, I guess for most people, it's not resentment. For most people, and this is evidence I'm presenting here, is that since they like it, that's evidence that they actually celebrate it. Because nobody's forcing the world to love Sydney Sweeney, Cindy Crawford, Brooke Shields. I'm naming all the old ones. I'm sure there's a whole new crop. I don't know any of their names. Nobody's forcing them to admire these people on Instagram and like their images, but yet they do. I have a crooked face, and I don't, I'm an ugly person, but yet here I'm going to like and follow this person who's the epitome, the perfect symmetry. I'm going to follow them. I'm going to click, like, share, and subscribe, and I'm going to help them sell products, and I'm going to be part of their army, because if I can be near Beyonce, if I can be close to her, if I can support her, I can be part of her. I can attach myself to that beauty. I think maybe some of it has to do with that, being attached to it somehow, that whole weird thing of people reaching out to celebrities and wanting to touch them and get their signature. There's so much, I think, inbuilt reverence for beauty that people just want to be near it. It's crazy. So do I think that's going anywhere? That's the weird part, and that's why I picked up this thing to record. I see people making these AI images, and one of the things you see more than anything is that you don't need to hire a model now. You can just type in blonde, blue hair, whatever your thing is, and have that person hold my product. People are making their own influencers. And weirdly, it's so far seems to be working in many ways. So I feel like some jobs might be, I don't know, I'm not convinced, I'm talking it out, might be going somewhere. And I'm wondering if that's bad. Of course, that extends to, my position is that all media is porn. All media is porn, because it's a virtual version of something that up until media had to be obtained face-to-face. If you wanted eye contact, a photograph, if you wanted eye contact with somebody, long eye contact, that was an intimate affair. Okay, going back to the walking next to somebody. If you want to walk next to somebody, there's a lot of risk. If you want to make eye contact with somebody, there's a lot of risk, a lot of vulnerability. But with the photograph, no. You can get a simulated version of that eye contact with Cindy Crawford, or Sydney Sweeney, or whoever it is. They're staring at you, and I think my estimation is that our biology hasn't yet completely distinguished between the eye contact of 1,000 years ago, which is either a painting. Even paintings were considered, artists were considered to be black magicians, warned against by many. It was mostly the church would employ it. They'd say, no, we're going to hire the artist so that we can use this magic for our purposes, But yeah, that eye contact thing. So anyway, all media is porn. The engagement in a book, whatever. It's just go back 1,000 years. How do you get it? 2,000 years, however long you need to go back. Most of these things that we get through media now used to be instruments that we would use to meet people and build relationships. Media distribution, printing press, digital distribution, 1,000 different reasons to bypass. The needs are satiated. Eye contact. We need eye contact. It's satiated through media, through photographs, you know? So, porn, just basic porn. Now let's get to real porn, you know? Obviously, I don't need to go into the details of what that does. You know, people have a need to satiate their drives. Porn connects with the brain the same way, not the same way, but in a way that's sufficient to relieve that, to relieve the pressure, to satiate a person, you know? So what happens is they don't go out and meet somebody. Because before that drive, for thousands of years, that drive would cause people to go walk next to somebody in the park or up the hill or somewhere to try to get that eye contact. But the media, you know, provides ways to satiate it. So that's why people are separating off and not mating as much and, you know, hooking up through apps with agreements. And anyway, I'm getting off track. I just want to talk about how now with these AI things, you're seeing the rise of AI models, AI influencers, and inevitably AI porn. You can find it on the internet. You know, you can find a lot of these. One of the big things with these image generators is that the ones that are owned by big companies have censor, because everybody, no matter what you do with the internet, any new tool is going to be used for porn. You know, robots. Oh, amazing. You go to a robot convention, somebody's building a sex doll. You know, first thing that happens is it's implemented in that way. And so people that are building images, they're making porn. They can do whatever, they can order up their own little model, their own thing, and they can make their own porn. Now, let's just, I'll take the position that porn is bad, okay? I know that's a crazy position, but I'm taking that position that porn is automatically bad. But now within that category, let's talk about the worst porn and the worst to the least bad in a category that's all bad, okay? Is it worse to have a connection with an OnlyFans model where a real human being has to sit there nude, doing things for money with strangers watching? Is that a good job for that person to have? Or what if the competition, what if there's a digital version that puts that person out of business? I don't think that's going to happen, but we're talking about it for whatever. Let's say that it does. Let's say that fewer and fewer OnlyFans models or porn actresses can get a paycheck because, you know, it's just difficult. If you want to hire somebody for anything, you're hiring a human being, and they're going to show up late. They're going to have attitudes and opinions. That's why I call this thing the opinion machine. A human being is an opinion machine. You know, it's like a hammer doesn't have an opinion. A human being does. So if you're using tools that have opinions, there's going to be problems. But if there's an option where you can use it, and if the porn that's created ends up being indistinguishable, where your average user can't tell the difference. So they're already engaged in something they shouldn't be engaged in. But now I'm going to sound like a total leftist. Harm reduction. And let's talk about harm reduction. Are more people harmed by AI porn, or are more people harmed by non-AI porn? They're both existing. But if the employment element is transferred, to just a couple of people that have some servers that can make porn, I mean, this is getting dark. It's dark. It's a dark topic, but does eliminating the jobs of porn stars, or severely impacting them, where's that conversation, ethically speaking? Because I'm having to bend and twist to think of a reason why putting pressure on eliminating those jobs isn't good. well, good's a strong word, isn't better than what is happening now. You know? Now, on the converse, here's the bad side of that. That's the one hand. But the other hand is, if Johnny P. Lonely can create his own companion, and this is the sixth part. This is one of the worst things about Elon Musk. There's things I like about him. There's things I not like about him. But one of the worst things is that he's using AI to build these companions. Zuckerberg too. This to me seems like the darkest of darks, is where people are using AI to build themselves girlfriends, virtual girlfriends. That's the worst. So that's the other side. Is it better for these people to not be able to get access to the OnlyFans model? I don't know. The whole thing's fucking, I don't know. I think the real question is can you ever get rid of evil? Or does it just kind of transfer around? Does the yin-yang thing always exist and it just sort of, I mean, that's the kind of cool thing about that symbol too, is it's blobby. It morphs, So you trade in OnlyFans, you put all the models out of business, but the trade-off is you get a bunch of people who end up addicted to virtual girlfriends. Is it better to be addicted to a live OnlyFans model? Or is it better to be addicted to a girlfriend that you invented? I mean, both of those are incredibly dark. They really are. So, yeah, that's certainly, I don't know, man. You don't want... I think that ultimately people will... I don't know. I can't say, but I think that people will ultimately want real life interaction. And I'm thinking out loud here, all the porn jobs, the OnlyFans models, let's just go to the extreme. They're all eliminated because AI is better. They don't argue. You don't have the humiliation of being tricked or being not chosen, no matter how many tokens you buy and you send to the OnlyFans person. They don't choose you. So your own custom AI is better, but that feels hollow and empty. But now you can't really go back to OnlyFans because that was eliminated. Do people step out of their house and go meet somebody? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way out of it. I think the good news is that a lot of people don't get sucked up into it to begin with. And I'll say it again. I think that the best thing that can possibly happen with AI that I see happening already is that people simply lose trust. They don't trust it. AI is so good now, images are so good now, that now I see in almost every comments, if you just scroll your Facebook wall, you'll find that in almost any video that shows anything that's slightly incredible or amazing, there's going to be somebody in the comments are going, fake, AI, even if it's real. And that's going to increase. As the AI, it's going to make people doubt media more. And that's the best case scenario because like what I said, porn is bad and all media is porn. So the more people doubt their porn source, I don't know. My silver lining is that I think it drives people. They're going to yearn to want to have real interactions. If they know they can't trust it, the cloak of, being able to think that, oh, no, I can trust things that come through my glowing screen. I can trust it. It's diminishing, So let's go back to the guy with his AI girlfriend. when he doesn't pay for it, or all of a sudden his AI girlfriend starts trying to sell him stuff, Black Mirror style, or makes him put in more money, and he realizes, fuck you, I invented you. That's a different kind of anger than the OnlyFans model, the real OnlyFans model, because there's nobody he can hunt down, you know, except for maybe Elon Musk or whoever owns the servers that are running his girlfriend. Black Mirror shit. I'm telling you, this stuff's weird, but I think things tend to get better. So even though it's easy to imagine yourself into a dark hole, in a dark conundrum like this, I think that ultimately, AI will drive people back together into real world experiences. Who cares about me? I'm an old guy, who cares about, but for young people that have to get together and they have to literally have sex with each other for the human race to continue. I think AI and the lack of trust, I think will drive people into a more, I don't know, realistic view of the world, that the AI is tricking them. They'll wake up, so to speak, to the ways they're being manipulated, or they'll at least distrust it. And that distrust for anything on the glowing screen is probably going to end up to be a good thing. I think that the modeling industry is going to change dramatically. I don't see as many opportunities for catwalks. I see that as kind of going out of the, because people, when you're able to connect directly to consumers and you're able to get the exact model you want, I don't know, that kind of conflicts with what I'm saying. Maybe more live fashion shows will come of this, because they don't want to see it on the Instagram model. They want to see people for real. Maybe we reset back to the 80s. I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but it's just the romance for these jobs. It's the romance for, the jobs. Honestly, does anybody need to be driving a truck and leaving their family across, Is that something we really need to hold on to? Coal mining, modeling, influencing. Why are we clawing at these jobs? I believe that there is so much abundance on planet Earth. That's where I do agree with Elon Musk and others, is that I see abundance. I see the clouds are filled with billions and billions of pounds and gallons of water. They're just waiting to drop somewhere. And there's this system built that is life-sustaining, and it has been for however long Earth's been around. I don't know. But all these things are getting better. Things are getting weird. There's some weird times ahead. But ultimately, I think things are going to get better. And I'm a little bit jealous of children being born today. I know this is unpopular. A lot of people go, I'm so glad I was born when I was born. And I was so glad I was able to ride in the back of a pickup truck with no helmet. And I'm so glad that my parents didn't care about me and I could do whatever the fuck I wanted to. I just had to be home before it was dark. I'm so glad. Great. I'm with you. I have gratitude for all those things too. And I think those things are all available to kids now, depending on where you live. Small towns still have that. Kids are still riding their bikes in small towns. People have just gone to the cities and they've gone to the glowing screen and they don't see that anymore. But all those things we had available as kids are still available. There are still trucks. There are still four-wheelers. There's still nature. There's still squirrels. There's still frogs. There's still tadpoles. Everything you like about your childhood, except for the constraints, are still there. And when I'm talking about the constraints, I'm talking about constraints we felt. We weren't able to make our own movies. We weren't able to record our own songs and distribute them. We weren't able to, the power tools or whatever. There's a million different tools that weren't available then that are available now. To make work less hard. And again, this is going to create the choice. People are fat now because of abundance. They have the choice. I think what's happening with life is it's becoming more and more, there's more and more individual accountability, even if you don't think there is. Because that fat on your body, that is your accountability. That's it. That's nature saying you have the choice. Where others didn't have choice, you do. You have the choice to be a fat, obese motherfucker. 50 years ago, that choice wasn't there because the calories weren't there. The abundance wasn't there. Are we supposed to look at abundance and curse the skies of abundance? Or is it really just a reflection of our own actions? Your body is a reflection of you. More and more and more and more and more. It's about your choice. And if you go make your own sex slave, that's you. If you decide that you're going to say, yes, I want an AI girlfriend, that's you. You did that. I call me crazy, but I kind of like that choice is being, the excuse is being eliminated. I'm only addicted to porn because OnlyFans and that woman and that Jew that runs the joint, and they're the ones that did this to me. Okay, great. But what about when you decide, I'm going to do it. I'm going to create this. I got a friend that makes these images, uses the two AI tools to make essentially pornographic images. He shares them as art. I see them as porn, and I just think, what's going on in your mind, man? Why are you using the tool that way? That's oh man, a hawk just landed on my deck. No wonder the pigeons haven't been here, motherfucker. Been wondering where the pigeons were. There's a hawk right there. Just, hold on. I gotta scare this motherfucker away. Get out of here, hawk. I hate that guy. Anyway. Yeah, it's your choice. It's your choice. If you decide you're going to do that, it's all on you. And I like it's becoming more and more on you. I prefer that. I think. I don't know. I don't know. I like accountability. I really do. And there is something to be said for a person that builds a tool and they say, with this tool, you can do anything you want. You can make anything you want with it. You can make something that's wonderful for the world, or you can make yourself an AI girlfriend, get fat. That's you. That's your choice. Isn't that kind of what we read about God's plan? Eliminating choices for people is almost the same as eliminating consequences, and you should never, ever spare anyone the consequences of their own actions. Anyway, that's quite a sermon. It's kind of strange to build a sermon on the possibility of making your own sex slave, but there you have it. Don't take my advice. Don't listen to me. I'm a very, very dumb human being. Thanks for listening. Unnecessary outro song to tell